Folks, this is Isolation Nation, show number 56. Today we notice there's a bit of a rivalry going on. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm Michael Landsberg.
Hi gang, I'm Jennifer Hedger.
Hi gang, I'm Sean McCormick.
I was on the very first Isolation Nation, #1 episode, numero uno, and I'm the one who started all the singing. I'm on Isolation Nation.
Isolation.
And then I said, our nation in isolation.
It's a nation in isolation. What a...
Do you repeat everything I say?
Do I repeat everything you say?
All right, let's see. My name is Jennifer Hedger, and this is Isolation Nation.
Her name is Jennifer Hedger. This is Isolation Nation.
I suffer from depression.
She suffers from depression.
Alcohol has helped me cope.
Alcohol also helps me cope.
I also like to smoke some weed.
I can't smoke it 'cause it makes me cough a lot.
Depression messes with my confidence. It makes me think that I can't do anything well. It makes me think I suck. S-U-C-K, suck.
You don't suck, it's just the depression talking.
Gosh, I love those two. On today's show, a rare glimpse at one of the most challenging parts of any relationship when you have somebody like Jennifer Hedger who suffers from depression and somebody like her husband, Sean McCormick, who doesn't. And believe me, I understand how tough that can be. Okay, honey, I was in a bad mood. I get it. Sometimes... Hi.
Hi.
Hey, guys. Jen Hedger, great to see you. How are you?
I am well, Michael. I'm well. How are you?
I'm great. And Sean McCormick, great to see you as well. I haven't seen you many times actually over the years at all. You're kind of hidden away. Hedger is like, she's very protective of you. But
Yeah.
when you used to do TV, I was a huge fan of yours, and I'm a fan of yours outside of television. How you doing, Sean?
I'm good, Michael. Thanks for the kind words. I'm a big fan of that Gunner T-shirt you're rocking today. That is sweet, capital S.
You know, I was weighing my options today between this and Nirvana shirt. I must have 200 T-shirts, having thrown out 200. That's how many T-shirts I have, and I have 2 suits. So I think it tells you a little something about who I am and how I like to run. And I have not worn pants with a button now, and it's got to be like 90 days. When was the last time you had real pants on?
It's been a while. There's no question. I am wearing shorts though. I do have something
Me too.
on right now, so that's a start.
You have something on, so as opposed
something on,
to times when you'd be sitting there with no pants or nothing.
Well, I mean, really, it's this work from home environment. There's a lot of secrets going on behind the scenes, right?
Can I say something?
You don't have to ask.
He had on pants with a button this weekend because he went golfing, and you have to wear pants with a button when you golf.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
There you go.
You know, I would say that would be, I always thought that golf rules were stupid. I gave up golf a couple of years ago. Just at a certain point, it was like, you know what? I've been shooting an 88 or thereabouts for the last 15 years. I'm done. Is there anything else you could do that you would do over and over again, year after year, and never get better?
Yeah. Well, you cannot keep score if you're just going out. I enjoy golf immensely now because I don't keep score. And I was like you, except 88 to me, that's halcyon territory right there. I'm high 90s, and I've been high 90s for 30 years. Yeah. I've come to the conclusion that I can't get better doing something 6 or 7 times a year. So I just don't keep score.
So let me just teach you something before we get into the reason why you guys are on the show. And that is, just repeat after me. I shoot on average an 88. Say it.
I shoot on average 88.
There you go. You just became an 88 golfer. That's all it takes, because nobody tells the truth. Sean, Jen, let me talk to Hedger for a second. How you doing? You have been on this show a couple of times so far. The first one was our first show, which tells you the esteem with which I hold you for real. And the second one was about a month later. So that's April the 1st and May the 5th.
Right.
First time you were doing okay. Well, we'll play a clip from that. And the second time, not so good. How are you now?
I am in between, I would say. I'm not feeling as I'm not suffering from depression as deeply as I feel like I was the last time we were on the show. I was pretty teary, and but I would say that I continue to struggle. I didn't want to do the show today. I don't feel like running today. I don't feel like doing all the stuff I know I need to do. And Sean, I'm sure, will tell you that he can sense it as well, how I feel. It's, you know what, I noticed something the other day. People have commented, they're like, oh, you look like you lost weight. Have you lost weight? And I said, yeah, it's the only thing I can control right now. And they're like, oh, like they don't really know how to respond to that, because I'm just being honest. Like, it honestly is the only thing I can have any control over right now in my whole life is what I eat and how much I work out. And I feel like that's what it's come down to. And I think that's why I've lost weight, because it's the only thing that I feel like I have a sense of control over, because everything else is out of our control.
Right. Well, thanks for doing this. Like, I believe me. I mean, one of the things that you and I bonded with and about, we were friends before, but then when we started talking about depression, there's something really powerful about speaking to someone that you like and you respect and that understands you. And that there's not a lot of people in that category. So when you say I didn't really want to do the show today, I understand 100% why. And it was a show last week I didn't want to do either. I was really struggling. I didn't feel good, and I would have backed out, except I couldn't. Jennifer mentioned that you can sense it coming on. How would you explain that? What do you sense?
Well, there's a couple of triggers. One is change, and change in an environment. If that's going somewhere, being around different people that maybe Jen doesn't have, it may seem a bit unpredictable, like an unpredictable situation sometimes. So I can almost, and this is after, being together for 15 years, I can understand where there's a high probability that Jen's going to struggle. And, I think part of, as you guys both know, like it's really difficult to console someone who's struggling, because that dark place is really dark, and nothing that you can say or do is going to pull them out of that place. So understanding when there's a good chance that she's going to go hit that place, I guess that kind of helps prepare me, and maybe hopefully give her a softer landing when she gets there, if I can understand it a bit better. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I can definitely predict it a little bit.
Not only does it make sense, but I think that what you said is the most important thing a caregiver can do or say or think. And that is there is nothing that you can say that's going to really make an appreciable difference. But the fact that people try to do things and to say things because they love this other person, so their heart's in the right place. But the assumption that you can minimize her pain minimizes her illness in her head, right? And the fact that you understand that is a big thing. Jen, do you think he understands it, or do you think that he knows that it's the right thing to say at this point?
Yeah, I think probably the second, because it's hard to understand how someone feels when they have depression. Although I think more and more people in self-isolation and in quarantine right now are feeling the irritability, the sadness, the when is it going to be over, the anxiety. I think that those feelings are sort of becoming
part of people's lives, and they are kind of getting an idea of what it might feel like to live with this illness. I think for Sean, though, he's, you know, when we first got together and he knew that I had depression, he started looking into, you know, reading, going online, trying to figure out what he can do. And a lot of it's in trial and error, because I mean, the first thing people want to do is all the stuff that people do, you know, like, oh, let's go for a walk, let's plan a trip, I love you, you're beautiful, why do you think that you're not pretty, look in the mirror, and you know, and then you look in the mirror and you dissolve into tears. So I think that Sean sort of tried all the things that seem like would be something to help somebody who's feeling sad, not depressed, but sad. And he's realized, you know, through trial and error, that sometimes I need my space, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just need you to say, I love you and I'm here for you. And when you're ready to talk, I'm here. Sometimes it means if I'm acting irrationally or saying something or behaving in a way that he knows is my illness, not holding it against me, which I think can be really hard, because sometimes your spouse really turns into a punching bag for all of the feelings that you feel, and you take it out on your spouse because they're the ones that are there. And that's not fair. You know, that's not fair to Sean to just absorb all the body blows. So it's kind of knowing when it's time to say, babe, I'm not the enemy here, I'm on your side, and sort of give me that little check that I got to remember. Being putting all of my energy, focusing all of the negative energy towards Sean isn't helpful. But sometimes I'm sure he feels that way, and it's absorbing some of it and not keeping a list, I guess, sometimes of all of the things that get hurled at him, because that doesn't help, keeping lists like that. I don't know if that helps.
Well, hold on, Sean. What you just said is one of the keys to staying married with someone. You can't hold a grudge. No, like your partner is always going to screw up. It doesn't matter whether your partner has depression or whether your partner has anything else in their life or just normal. Like, if you live with someone long enough, they're going to get mad at you and they're going to do things that they should not have done. And if you hold a grudge, then they'll start holding a grudge about your grudge. So yeah. I think that is without a doubt one of the most important things. Sean, before you say anything, let's roll the tape from Jen, you on the first show, which was the 1st of April, and you on our 26th show or 24th show. Not that you're scoring at home, so it really makes any difference. And, you know, kind of how you predicted the future. Take a look. Roll it, Phil.
I should say I'm a little bit nervous. I'm a lot nervous that in 1 week or 2 weeks from now, my depression is going to sort of cast this pall over my life, as I feel like it has started to do. And I'm going to be really sick. If anyone remembers from the last time we spoke, I sort of was predicting the fact that I was feeling like I might be sliding downhill. And unfortunately, my prediction was right. I have felt all those things that I was fearing. We've been a month now after we spoke for the first time. I'm going to be not able to get out of bed and not able to help my family. And it's a very lonely feeling because my family needs me. I'm irritable. I spend all day long arguing with myself in my own head, trying to tell myself it's okay. You're not failing your family. Like, we need to get through this. I can't just be mom who's got a mental illness and you're not failing yourself. You're doing the best you can. But I don't believe myself. I'm feeling like there's this tidal wave that's about to come over me. And even though I know it's coming, I'm not going to be able to stop it. It sucks. All those things I said that I was doing that was making me feel really good, like going running and exercising and making sure that I keep up with my workouts. I just simply do not have the energy to do it.
Wow. I mean, that's, I think one of the most important things with this illness, but just in general, is a sense of self-awareness, right? You know, the more you understand yourself, and in this context, the more that you understand your illness, the better chance you have from learning from your past experience. And man, you nailed that, right? I mean, you said it, and then a month later it happened, and here you are another, I guess, month and a half later now, and you're somewhere in between, which I will take on an optimistic note means that you're going up as opposed to going down.
Yeah, no, I would say so. Yeah, I don't know. When you like, what has your experience been, Sean, looking at it from like, riding co-pilot here is, would you say that things are better than they were a month ago, or what would you say?
Yeah, I got to be honest with you. It was well edited, that sequence. But you know, it was a really good sequence. I try to not get inside your head. I try to understand where you're at. Maybe not day to day, but every couple of days. I think if you focus in too tightly on one moment in time, the fluctuations are too great. Where if you zoom out a little bit and you look at a few days at a time, or a week at a time, or a couple of weeks at a time, then you get a more normalized pattern. And those fluctuations, even a couple of weeks at a time can be a lot right now with we're all living under one roof, right? 24 hours a day. And I would say you're getting better. The one thing I've just to carry on, I guess what we were talking about a second ago, that I always try to say to Jen at the right time, pick the time to say it, but it's just a reminder that what you're feeling isn't reality necessarily. And the way you're feeling about things, while the issues themselves are reality, how you're processing those things might not be reality. And I say to Jen every now and again, I'll just say, I know you're in a tough place. Nothing I can say can make you feel better, except maybe a reminder that what you're feeling isn't reality. Hopefully we've been, getting through this last couple of months. I mean, you're putting on a real brave face, babe. I got to be honest with you. It's funny. There's a certain look that Jen can get in her eye. It's not a sunken eye by any stretch. It's nothing that's like awful or ugly or anything like that. It's just a different look. And that's when I know that that Jen's in a place that I can't reach her. Fortunately, she manages to get through these times, but there's definitely a look. It's a posture, facial expressions that I just wouldn't see otherwise. And when I see that, that's when I know that, okay, Jags, we gotta let mom just, we gotta let her be by herself here, because anything we say just has a possibility that's going to amplify an already difficult time. So yeah, you're putting on a real brave face, babe. I got to tell you.
Okay, I just want to confirm here. When you say babe, are you talking to me or to her?
Well, Michael, I mean, I've told you before, I've had a man crush on you since the mid 80s, but
so, I mean, that is an exceptionally sensitive and I would say important reflection that I seldom hear people. I talk to people like Hedger and like myself all the time, but caregivers don't talk much. And caregivers don't share what it's like to be a caregiver. And
I've never been asked.
Yeah, for sure.
Nobody's ever asked me about it.
Right. But also, there's so much of there's a lot of ego that goes into it. It's tough to say, that it's really hard. It's tough to say, I don't understand you. But those words, I don't understand you, Sean, are like the most important things you can say, because damn, it's just so irritating for someone to think they understand, because you can't, nor should you, right? Other illnesses, you would never say to, God forbid your wife had a serious other kind of illness. You would never say, as she's having chemotherapy, you would never say, oh, I understand what that's like. That would sound ridiculous if you hadn't been through it.
No, I think I kind of look at it like this, and this is my And again, I fortunately I don't suffer from depression, but the best way that I can rationalize with myself is that if I'm feeling down one day, I know that I'm going to feel better the next day. I know that it's just a blip. I know that if I'm feeling defeated about a certain situation, that I'm going to be able to find a doorway to get out of it. And those two different scenarios, Jen, there's no doorway. She basically, I think, unfortunately, in her world, she's got to wait for a doorway to magically appear to get out. No looking or searching is going to help her find that exit. And that's kind of how I look at it, is that that must be a terrible place to be when you know that you're not feeling right, but there's no way to get out of it. And that you just hope that you got enough time, that time will go by and things will get better. But even probably convincing yourself of that is next to impossible. So
that is next to impossible. Hedge, has he gotten better at it over the years? He said
Absolutely.
that you've been together for 15 years.
Yeah, I would say two things are the two things that Sean does that I think, again, that he's just learned over time, that are tools that he uses. One is what he just said, reminding me when I'm feeling, when I'm depressed, when I'm crying, when nothing's ever going to be okay. And he will say to me, he'll say, this is not reality. Like, the way that you're feeling, your feelings are real, but what's behind them isn't real. Like, it's not as bad as it feels to you right now. And you have to trust that that's the truth. It's not as bad as it feels. And in that second, it usually annoys me. But in the minute afterwards, I'm like, you know what? He's right. Like, I need to have that perspective. The other thing, and this happened like really early in our marriage, and I would recommend this for anyone who is trying to figure out how to deal with a husband or a wife who has depression, is that Sean was really clear to me early on that he was not going to leave me because of this disease, that he was willing to stick it out and to battle, alongside me. And I didn't, and I don't ever have to worry about losing my husband, because he can't deal with this whole depression part of my brain. And when you don't have to worry about your husband not being there for you, when you don't have to worry about him leaving because the going's going to get too tough, that is a huge weight off the shoulders of somebody who's already feels like the world is on their backs. So yeah, that never having to worry that he was going to leave me because of this, and that reset that he knows, Sean just kind of gets, I guess, the feel of 15 years in of knowing what I need to hear and when I need to hear it. But those would be two big things. And one more thing I will say, if you're like a friend watching right now and you're like, well, I'm not married to someone who has it, but geesh, one of my good friends, just emailing someone with a caveat saying, you don't have to email me back, just wanted to say hi, or you don't have to email me back, just wanted to let you know I'm thinking of you on this Father's Day, or whatever it is. But when you start it with, you don't have to email me back, it just relieves all of the pressure that we can feel sometimes when people are trying to reach out and help. But if you have to go and contact that person, it makes it worse. If they say up the top, no need to email me, just want to let you know, that is just such a wonderful thing for me to receive as someone who's feeling like I don't want to reach out to other people, but knowing that people care about you and aren't looking for you to contact them is really helpful.
Hey, Sean, when did you say that to Jennifer? When did you say, you don't have to worry, I'm here for the long run. I understand that it gets tough, but I'm not going anywhere. When did you say that?
You know what? Right after we met, well, it wasn't right after we met. We'd moved in together, and Jen had to. She took some time off of work, if I remember correctly, babe. I think it might have been 2 or 3 weeks, might have even been a month, and things got pretty dark. And I I was still okay with that. Because I knew that I'm not without my own warts. I'm actually more fortunate with the ones that I have, that I can more easily live with them, I guess. And I just it didn't change the fact that Jen was the woman I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. And I'd make that decision 7 days a week, twice on Sunday right now. I do it all over again. So it was early on. It was the first time it was the first and, you know, probably one of the more severe, downturns for her. But, I'm glad it happened early because, to be honest with you, Michael, it kind of cemented I knew my feelings were legitimate, when I was faced with that. Cause I thought, well, I guess this is what you got to do to get through the next 30 years. This is what it's all about. So yeah, it was. But yeah, to answer your question, it was early on. It was the first and one of the deeper ones. That's for sure.
Has this been, if you look back at the 15 years since you said that, has this been harder than you thought it would be? I mean, I don't think it'll be insulting, you know, for you to say that if that's the case, because you're still there and you're still just as supportive. And I'm just wondering whether this was what you expected.
It's you know what, Jen's a battler, and it's actually probably, and to her credit, has been better, because like I say, it was I don't know if you remember that time at all, Dave, but it was a really tough month for you. And I don't know if Jen has managed to somehow, you know, avert disaster again. It's pretty much uncontrollable, so maybe you've just been lucky, I guess, that it hasn't got that bad again. But yeah, yeah, boy, you gave me a lot to think about here, Michael. It's a walk down memory lane, man. Wow. No, you know what? Jen's a battler. Jen's a battler, and sorry, go ahead.
No, I would say two things. I think it's gotten easier to talk about it, and that we don't have to hide it as anymore. I think 15 years ago, we certainly weren't telling our friends and family, Jen's not coming to this event tonight because of her depression. You know, we wouldn't say that. We would just make it was like a secret. It was a big secret that we had to keep. And I think the more now that people talk about it, the more we're normalizing it, the more that our friends and family can now know the truth. They can be surprised by it, but then we're normalizing it more. So I would say there's that. I think I do a better job of being able to treat it. But that being said, you know, our son was asking what we're talking about on this show today, and I had a hard time explaining it to him, you know, because he's 9, and you don't want to scare a child either, as when you start talking about illnesses and that sort of thing. So I basically said that, you know, but basically we're going to go in couples therapy without the professional advice and without the privacy. So, which are really the only two things that you actually go there for.
So in other words, you basically, you just made up a story that you hoped would appease
I absolutely lied to him. Yeah, I lied to him because I can sit and talk to a bunch, you know, broadcast to a bunch of strangers, but looking at my own son and trying to explain it, it's a lot harder.
Oh yeah, and it should be a lot harder. And you know, when you broadcast to strangers, you're giving them a part of you, but not all of you.
Right.
And that there's a big difference for sure. Do you ever feel guilty? And then Sean, I'd like to hear what your perception is of Jen perhaps feeling guilty about, because I do. Feeling guilty about depriving you from some days in your life or some weeks in your life or things that maybe you wanted to do, but she's not feeling well. Jen?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's everything from hosting parties and me completely freaking out beforehand because I can't believe we're having people over and why are we doing this? And I don't want to see anybody. And this was a mistake. It's like we go through that all the time. It just seems like there's so much unnecessary angst and unnecessary, just negativity that exists in my head that I wish didn't spill out into my life and affect my husband. So yeah, I mean, when we were planning our wedding, oh my gosh, I had like the worst, it was awful. And those were in those months, Sean, leading up, I think it was just after we had gotten engaged, where it should have been the happiest time of our life. Like, we're engaged, we're about to get married, we're young, we've got great jobs. And I was in a terrible place. And as much as I feel guilty for, sucking the fun out of my own brain and my own life, now I'm dragging my husband down with it, because this should be a great time in his life too. And he's trying to talk his wife off the ledge. Like, why can't she just be happy? So yeah.
Yeah. You know what, the I don't know. I see it as it's a package. I don't expect Jen to be anything that she's not. And depression goes along with it. It's not like I don't wake up in the morning and think, wow, I hope Jen's not depressed today. Because Jen's my life partner, and whatever she is, she's going to be. I made that call 15 years ago, and the promise. Thanks for reminding me, by the way. I forgot about that. But it's part of the package. And again, I get back to, I got a whole bunch of things that I won't get into on this call, Michael. I can be difficult to live with sometimes. And Jen tolerates that too, but we're not keeping score and saying, well, it's easier to tolerate my short temper than it is to tolerate Jen's depression. Like, that's not how we do things. So Jen is, that's what you see is what you get. And the Jen that I know has always been that way. So that's never going to change. And if depression is part of that, then we'll work through it.
You didn't really answer the question, which was her guilt. And she just said how she feels guilty. I'm not admonishing you, by the way, for not answering the question. I really care about the answer, though, because what she said is that, there's times when I feel a lot of guilt because I'm depriving Sean of things that he would want to do because I just don't feel like I'm okay right now. How do you handle that?
She shouldn't feel guilty, again, because she's not depriving me of anything, because again, the package is what the package is. This is what I signed up for. So she's not depriving me she's not depriving me of living a happier life. I'm thrilled right now. I'm thrilled to spend the rest of my life with my wife and son. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. This is the way Jen is, and I accept her for that. And
there isn't another version out there that doesn't.
There's no other version out there.
Oh, wait a second here. Wasn't there a Lofters version? I thought this was 2.0.
Same one.
Yeah.
Same one.
But I think you're still kind of avoiding, and I don't mean you're doing it purposely, but it's not a matter of whether you think she should feel guilty, because it would be totally out of character for you to make her feel guilty. But she feels guilty because, as you said before, that, you've told her there's things that go on in her head which are not reality, right? It's her depression, her illness speaking to her. So she feels the guilt that you've just said, and, put it beautifully and so sensitive, and what a great way to look at it. But that doesn't mean that she's not feeling bad about depriving you, even though you don't feel deprived.
Yeah, I guess I would never, if there's anything I can do to not, maybe, I wouldn't want you to think that you're depriving me of anything, because you're not at all. The positives far outweigh the negatives in any situation. And, you know what? It's funny. I see other, and I'll look at this from a husband's perspective. I look at all of my friends that have friends and family members that have wives and girlfriends, and everybody has something that may be perceived as a drawback, I guess, something that might not be perfect about them, something that you say, wow, I could never live with that. And I can, there's something that all of my friends, there's at least one thing about their wives or their significant other that I say, wow, I don't understand how that guy deals with that. Other people may say, well, I don't know how I could ever deal with living with somebody, who is depressed. Well, you can. It's not the end of the world for you as the caregiver. You can navigate around it. But I can honestly say that there are, again, looking at the whole package, and that's the thing. I think it's important that if a caregiver is only focusing in on the other person's depression and looking at that as being this, if the caregiver makes it all consuming, then that's two people that it's all consuming for, I guess, maybe is what I'm trying to say. And you can't let it be all consuming as the caregiver, then you've lost.
Hedge, I think we should play Sean's theme song All Together, which was inspired by you. So, Phil, why don't you roll it, and then we'll come back and wrap it up. This is Sean Cullen, the Isolation Neat theme song. Worldwide hit, by the way, remains top of the charts in every European country but Bulgaria. For some reason, the Bulgarians.
Hey, everybody. It's a nation in isolation. It's a nation in isolation. It's a difficult situation. It's a nation in isolation. Now's not a good time for celebration. Feeling good, share the wealth, help other people with their mental health. It's a nation in isolation. Don't eat fiberglass pink insulation. Yeah. Good advice there.
Did he say don't eat fiberglass?
Don't eat fiberglass pink insulation.
That is excellent advice.
Yeah, he's hysterical. And there's, you know what, there's something about his face that is comforting.
Yes.
He's just kind of makes you happy. And he's had his struggles. I don't know if you know this, but he suffered terribly from depression for a long time and gave up drinking actually this January the 1st. So when he was on the show, when we were talking about it, he said that's 175 days. And I believe that was 9 days ago. So he's 184 days sober. He was the star, the lead in The Producers down at one of the big theaters. And he just said, I can't keep doing this. I'm just so sick. And he said, I'd never really acknowledged it or shared it. And so his story is very compelling, very inspirational, and very touching. He's a lovely guy who, like the two of us in this conversation, has had some things to battle and hasn't always felt comfortable sharing them.
Yeah.
And he sings well, and he's funny. And this was really so enlightening for me. Sean, thank you so much for sharing a perspective that we almost never hear. And next time we're going to look for a really crappy husband who's going to go.
Yeah, let's do that next time.
When she is in a bad mood, it just pisses me off.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, Michael. I got to be honest with you. It's a bit intimidating talking to people about something that I have no idea. I can't possibly put my head in the same space that you and Jen are in. So thanks for tolerating my outsider thoughts.
No, but what you just said is the most important thing that a caregiver can say is, I don't understand it. Because as soon as you think you do understand it, that's when you make stupid suggestions. And the fact that you said, I'm here forever, is awesome. I'm a little shocked that you asked me when the brass rail opens. To be honest with you, that shocked me. But you guys are great. I like you a lot, Sean, and I love your wife, and I just think the world of her. And I think that of all the people that I've met, there's no better voice for depression, especially to women who relate better to another woman who's got the same problem. So thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Michael, and thanks. I got a good one there, and Sean. I think I'm going to keep him around.
Yeah, it's a good move. Unless you can upgrade, then you got to go for it. Wouldn't that be like terribly ironic? You go to him, I'm out of here, and he goes, "But I put up with all this shit for 15 years." Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks, Michael.
Roll it, Phil.